Situated in the rural state of Mississippi, the movie begins with a local radio announcer reading a recent news story to his listeners. The headline says that an armored truck gave away cash on a Texas highway, sparking a frenzy among civilians to collect the money. The same happened in Dallas, where another armored truck dropped a large sum of money, causing a tremendous traffic jam. Speaking of armored trucks, the movie introduces us to James and Casey Brody, a father and son respectively, who are engaged in transporting money in an armored truck while they go about their morning routine. The story also focuses on Rope, a mysterious man who seems to be preparing something big that involves many weapons. Likewise, the man carefully inspects a bridge that passes over a river. It's been a while since the road to that place has been closed for renovations, although I'm afraid it will end up even worse. On another day, James is awakened by his alarm to fulfill his chores. First, he drinks a good glass of juice, or so it seems, because the juice carton hides a bottle of liquor. The curious thing is that James is aware of his alcoholism. He even goes to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings in the hope of healing. But of course, that decision is up to him alone. Although he wanted to stay a little longer to chat with the new hires, his son interrupts him with the horn of his truck. It's time to work. On the way, Casey reminds him that the baby shower for his future child is in a few days and he hasn't responded to the invitation. Jason avoids talking about it, assuring that everything is fine. Casey understands his father's silence, mentioning that he was going over names for his baby. Since he'll have a boy, the name Trisha will be saved for when he has a girl, though he needs his father's permission first. And that's because Trisha was the name of James's wife, who died in a tragic car accident. Changing the subject, Casey congratulates him on 6 years of sobriety, saying his mother would be proud if she knew. Back at work, father and son pick up a shipment of boxes from a known associate, Frank. The thing is, these boxes are heavier than usual. In the attempt to load them onto the truck, Casey trips and his pen ends up in a remote corner. His wife Sarah will kill him if he doesn't retrieve it, as she gave it to him. As the search is taking too long, James points out to his son that a pen is not such a big deal. However, when he sees his baby sticking their head out, that will be a real concern. Before boarding the truck, James notices a suspicious black van that seems to be watching them, although he doesn't give it much importance. Already on the road, both brace themselves for a long journey in the middle of nowhere. Whatever the cargo is, it must be very valuable to take it so far. Once they finish the delivery, Casey invites his father to dinner at his house, but he replies that he has a meeting with his support group. Seeing his son's disappointment, James changes his mind and asks what he can bring to the dinner. Will his presence be enough? On the other hand, Rook and his team continue with the preparations for their plan. Arming themselves with rifles and explosives as if for a war, they are ready to get their hands dirty. Meanwhile, James arrives at dinner with Casey and his pregnant wife, Sarah, to whom he mentions how nervous his son was on his first day of work. He was just a kid with a bulletproof vest that was too big for him, a gun he didn't know how to use. Now he's a grown man who's looking forward to raising another little man. Speaking of work, Casey confesses that he would like to have some action on the routes. In response, his father makes it clear that he'll soon realize the best action is inaction. Peace is priceless. The next day, father and son pick up another shipment from Frank. According to the papers, they are supposed to transport 3 boxes, although at the bank they are received with 4. Although James finds him suspicious, Frank threatens to tell his boss about his Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. Plus, he was discharged from the police for alcoholism. Reluctantly, the man picks up the cargo with his son, and they set off for their next and distant destination. James quickly regrets his decision, remembering that an undeclared box can have anything inside. That means this trip might not be like the others, which excites Casey. His father, not so much. And he's not wrong, since later on a black van starts following them and even tries to ram the truck. Immediately, Casey requests reinforcements via the radio, but surprise, the signal is dead. James, on his part, tries to evade his pursuer by taking green and rustic paths. In doing so, he enters a closed route leading to a bridge over a river. Sound familiar? Suddenly, a van appears on the other side, blocking their way. Going back is not an option either, due to the other van chasing them. The thieves don't even give them a chance to surrender, as they open fire immediately. Their leader leads the assault, Being Rook himself, this was his grand plan. With the truck overturned, the man crawls out with his son, taking cover just before their heads are blown off. In that tight spot, James tells Casey to wait for their enemies to reload. Then they can return the favor. When the time comes, father and son open fire on the thieves, with Casey hitting one of them and also getting hit himself. James quickly finishes off the thief who shot his son, after which he locks himself in the back of the truck with him. There, Casey panics over his leg wound, believing he's going to die. His father, quite calm, reminds him that if he slows his heart, he'll live to tell the tale. With what he has on hand, James makes a tourniquet for Casey, while Rook explodes with rage over how his plan is going awry. It was supposed to be a simple operation, and he has lost 2 of his men. From the truck, James tries his luck with his phone, but soon realizes that his enemies are using signal jammers. They are professionals, that's clear. Just then, Rook knocks on the door, calling each of them by name. The criminal tells them about Murphy's Law, which says that if something can go wrong, it will go wrong at the worst possible moment. Now they find themselves in a situation worthy of Murphy's Law. Therefore, he offers the guards the chance to leave, reminding them the money they protect isn't theirs. Also, Casey needs a hospital. James, no fool, deduces Rook planned for no witnesses, so he won't fall into his trap. Plus, he wouldn't negotiate if he could blow these doors. This leads him to deduce they also lost their demolition expert. Frustrated, Rook says he made the wrong decision. During a brief truce, James inspects the box's contents. What a coincidence that he finds several gold bars in the box that he hadn't declared. The bars, which are worth many millions of dollars, are accompanied by a coin with a peculiar insignia that belongs to a cartel. Suddenly, a cloud of tear gas infiltrates the interior, courtesy of the thieves. Immediately, father and son block the ventilation ducts with box foam, resisting the gas as best they can. Seeing their strategy didn't work, the thieves use their drill. That should do it. For his part, Casey's wound gets infected, so his father, with no choice, admits his thermos is full of alcohol. Despite the situation, Casey can't help but be upset with his father. How could he have lied all this time? This brings back childhood memories when on a camping trip with his parents. They met a reckless driver. Although he was off duty, James turned on his sirens and forced the driver to stop to read him the riot act. Having done that, the man returned to his car believing he did the right thing. Although his wife and son looked annoyed. Apologetic, James promised he wouldn't play police officer for the rest of the trip. Indeed, he didn't act as a police officer after that. His wife Tricia took the worst of the impact. By the time the paramedics arrived, she was already dead. Casey remembers that incident with fury, asking his father why he had to play the hero when it wasn't necessary. However, that doesn't make him guilty of Tricia's death either. It hurts to admit that they lost her due to a simple accident, but it's the truth, and James has to stop avoiding it with alcohol. It's curious that what they need most now is alcohol, so the man improvises a hook that helps him lift his flask to the front seat. Though Casey's wound is slightly better, it's clear he won't last much longer, and the thieves aren't backing down. They're drilling the doors. They're going to get in, so father and son improvise a counterattack. While Casey distracts them, James exits the truck through another opening. He holds the alcohol flask in one hand and a lighter in the other. Not satisfied with that, James attacks another thief with a taser, although he takes a bullet in the vest that forces him back to the safety of the truck. On the thieves' side, only Echo and Smoke remain standing, besides their leader, though they might kill each other because they can't agree on their ideas. After separating them, Rook offers the guards a new chance to leave. They obviously don't accept it, preferring to fry in the heat of the truck for the next few hours. The thieves also can't afford to wait too long, as eventually the authorities will wonder about the absence of the truck. Therefore, they consider throwing the truck into the river and searching for their loot underwater. In his agony, James apologizes to his son for not being there these past years. Casey replies that he can make up for it by being the grandfather his future child deserves. First, they must get out of this, of course. Outside, Smoke loses patience due to his companion's delay, who fear the consequences of killing the guards. Well, Smoke doesn't. The truck immediately falls into the river and begins to sink. The emergency opening is the only way out for James and Casey, but the latter gets stuck by a shelf. Faced with this, the young man asks his father to save himself, but he doesn't give up and lifts the shelf. Together, father and son exit the sunken truck. It's a scene where there was clearly no water. They think we're fools. As soon as they reach the shore, they are attacked by Smoke, who after a struggle with James, manages to take his gun. This is as far as they got. Rambo saving the day. Without the will to keep fighting, Rook lowers his weapon and spares the guards if they don't tell the police about him. Deal done. After that, Frank picks up Rook, while James and Casey are rescued by the police. And that's how this great movie ends. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and thanks for